All right, rotation is huge, obviously, in fighting sports, but it's also huge in just the performance of the glute. You'll notice that the glute wraps around the body to connect us, because we're rotational beings. If you want to create a lot of force punching and kicking, you rotate. So we want to create a lot of foot action. So we can do that through several different mediums. A great way is to use the kettlebell, and we can do what I call, lawnmower cleans, or you can start with lawnmower deadlifts, where basically I'm going to internally rotate my hip, hinge back into this left glute, and as I come up, I rotate out to the side. Back down, pause, make sure I'm not rounding my back, my shoulder is packed, come up. Then I can progress it into more power. And I want to make sure that the foot action stays consistent throughout the exercise. So we can also use elastic tools like the TRX Rip to teach that component and again transfer force out with rotation. One of the cool ways we can start is with something basic as a rotational punch, and you see what happens is how my foot rotates as I punch out. So instead of sitting there with bands and just punching with your arms, which is something you wouldn't normally do, learning to punch with the body is far more effective. I can simply change the angle here, and now I have some anti-rotational forces, so I can come back out and punch out. Come back out, punch out. So now I have a different angle working that combination. So eventually I can add sort of a little bit of combination of the two. I can come out, pound. And what I'm doing is learning how to create force through that kinetic chain at different angles and positions that allow me to learn how to transition power when I'm actually in my sport. And then finally, our Ultimate Sandbag allows us to do really cool rotational work because, again, we can train different angles, and by that, sort of train different outcomes. So, for example, where earlier I used the kettlebell inside out, I can go outside in with a sandbag. So what I'm going to do, and the reason this is more complex is because my starting point requires me to really hinge into my hip, master that rotation, and I can do an outside in clean. Learning how to develop force, but also learning how to decelerate. More challenging would be to go into a high pull, going from side to side. So I have less time to predict the movement of the weight, and I have to absorb that force coming down. Now, with all the sandbags, you also have a dimensional component, not just load. So I can go into something like around the world, and this is going to create a different training effect. So like a pulse. So what Dr. McGill calls a pulsing action, I don't want just a rigid core, I want a core that can turn on and off. So basically, I start and then watch my feet. My feet are what create the action. A lot of people misunderstand when a weight moves around the body, this would be anti-rotation. This is rotation because it's rotation in my body creating the movement of the load. So some great drills to build some functional patterns in that rotational training.